White people were eating their slaves. In honor of Black History Month, let's talk about history that doesn't make headlines, mainly because we got idiots like this trying to whitewash history.
In 1800, President John Adams took up residence in what was then called the Executive Mansion. It was only later on they named it the White House. Slaves that worked there were well fed and had decent lodgings provided by the government.
One of the most famous cases of this is Nat Turner, a man who led one of the largest slave rebellions of his time. Turner was eventually caught and he was flayed, and they used his skin to make a coin purse, while his bones were divided out as trophies to be passed down as heirlooms. And lastly, what was left of him was turned into grease. Slavers at the time described Black people as seasoned, as all food should be, and more seasoned potentially meant more money when selling them at auctions. Slavery in its entirety was cannibalistic. They cannibalized their lives, their souls, and yes, even their bodies. My goal for this knowledge is to be used as a tool or a weapon to fight back against these narratives. The narratives that they were well fed, had a roof over their head, or they didn't have it that bad. Because you will always have people like Bill O'Reilly in this clip that are trying to whitewash history.
Did you know that the single largest financial operation in the history of not Great Britain was to pay reparations to 45,000 slave owners? Not reparations to enslaved people, reparations to slave owners. The Brits have been paying this off until 2015.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. My name is Dash Lifestyle. Kindly for watching me for the first time, remember to subscribe, like, share, and also comment. So guys, in today's video, I want us to watch and to listen to this video from a Black woman. She's coming out and reveal the hidden white history that we Black people, we don't know. Kindly guys, watch this video till the end, then I'll be back with more comment.
They can't cook, they can't drive, they can't dress, they can't even breathe. Is there anything else that white people cannot do? Sit. White people love to act like they set the standard for civilization, when their history proves they never even learned how to sit properly. For most of human history, people sat in ways that aligned with the body's natural structure. Ancient civilizations in Africa, Asia, and the Americas used deep squatting, floor sitting, and simple stools. Postures that keep the spine healthy. I myself am in a full squat right now, as I am in every video. White Europeans, however, rejected these practical methods in favor of rigid, uncomfortable chairs. Indigenous cultures in the Americas sat and squatted in ways that preserved core strength and flexibility. African societies used simple stools or squatting postures that supported joint health. Asian cultures developed sitting positions such as Seiza and lotus position that encouraged good posture. Middle Eastern cultures used cushions and floor seating for comfort and mobility. Meanwhile, Europeans forced themselves into stiff-backed chairs that damaged their spinal cords forever. White people weren't improving on human traditions. They were ruining them. White people didn't just abandon healthy sitting postures, they also designed furniture that actively ruined their bodies. Medieval European chairs were stiff, high-backed, and uncomfortable, designed more for status than for function. During the Renaissance, they made chairs more decorative, but still ignored ergonomics. By the Victorian era, they forced themselves into rigid, upright chairs that restricted movement. Even modern office chairs are designed poorly, leading to widespread back pain and poor posture. And what was the result? Chronic back and joint pain became normal in Western societies. Europeans had to invent corsets, back braces, and posture correctors just to compensate for bad furniture. They created the modern office chair and had to rediscover lumbar support because their design was so flawed. They now spend billions on physical therapy to fix the issues their own sitting habits have caused. White people literally designed their own suffering, then had to sell solutions to the problems they created. White people have never known how to sit on the floor without looking broken. When white people sit on the ground, They fold their legs at bizarre angles like they've never used them before. They avoid squatting because their flexibility is gone from centuries of bad sitting habits. They struggle to get up from the floor like their joints are rusted shut. They make sitting on the ground look like a near-death experience instead of a normal human function. Sorry, I keep trying to redo that part, and I can't. It's killing me. Meanwhile, other cultures have been sitting comfortably for centuries. Squatting is a natural rest position in many African, Asian, and indigenous cultures. Japanese and Middle Eastern cultures developed comfortable floor-based sitting traditions. People outside the West don't need expensive furniture to sit properly. White people weren't just bad at sitting. They made their bodies completely incapable of it. They ridiculed deep squatting as primitive while forcing themselves to sit in unnatural positions. They dismissed Asian and Middle Eastern floor seating as uncivilized, while destroying their own backs. They called indigenous sitting practices savage, only to rebrand them later as mindful living. They turned yoga and meditation sitting postures into luxury wellness trends centuries after ignoring them. Here's the pattern of white discovery. Step 1. Mock non-white practices as inferior. Step 2. Realize those practices were actually better. Step 3. Rename them, market them, and make a profit. White people weren't interested in better ways to sit. They were only interested in better ways to sell it. Now, they have entire industries dedicated to fixing posture problems that they caused. They pay thousands for ergonomic chairs instead of just sitting naturally. They need special mobility training just to regain the ability to squat. They spend millions on chiropractors, physical therapists, and yoga studios to undo centuries of bad habits. Meanwhile, the rest of the world just sits normally, without needing any of that. White people weren't ahead of the curve. They were so far behind, they had to sell themselves a way back. White people didn't innovate sitting. They sabotaged it. They ignored how the rest of the world sits, and now they suffer for it. If they just learned how to sit from non-white cultures, they wouldn't be spending millions trying to fix something that was never broken. Cope.
We have just a religious or political divide in this country. We really have an inherent difference in what we believe goodness to be. And both politics and religion have something to do with how we've gotten to this place. The moral compass of any society is what keeps us from doing harm or actively enables us to do harm on the collective of that society, right? And we get our moral compass through the laws that govern us and through the religious beliefs that we hold. When Columbus landed on the island of Hispaniola, he met Tainos. And the Tainos at the time were a very community-oriented culture. They were very collectivist. They gave freely without exchange or with minimal exchange in return. And this, Columbus said, was a point of exploitation because his moral compass was very different. His moral compass came from a place of exploitation is actually good, and it makes our society more civilized when we exploit from other people's weaknesses, because the stronger we are, the less we open ourselves to exploitation. And so he viewed the Taino people as massively naive, uncivilized, and stupid because they were so collectivist in nature, because they were so generous with what they had. So if you come from a culture that is similar to what the Taino culture presented, which is this collectivism, this idea that we all can have enough and that I give you and I'm generous because it's the right thing to do, your sense of goodness is very different than the sense of goodness that came from these colonial powers, which was, I am good if I collect as much reinforcement to protect myself. That is goodness. That thriving as an individual and the exploitation of other people's weaknesses is what's going to make me inherently good. And so in modern day America, we're seeing kind of the same threads, right? This idea that individualism makes me a good person, right? That protecting my turf, owning my rights to my Second Amendment rights, making sure that people just look like me because that's going to protect me. That is my idea of good, that I get to live a thriving life. Whereas we're also seeing an emergence of good having been, can all of us collectively thrive, not only myself, but you, and can we live in community with each other? Those two perspectives continue to be at odds. And at some point, I think we were conned into thinking that goodness meant preparedness, that if we gave people the right information, that they would do the right thing with that information and utilize fact and objective truths to craft their idea, their moral idea, or their idea of what goodness means for them. But really, we have forgotten how susceptible we are to these narratives at the political and religious level. That if I can find a way to co-opt and to exploit your psyche through politics and through religion, I can convince you that goodness means this set of things as opposed to this set of things. I think literally this is why so many of us are dumbfounded by the fact that we can actually sit here, watch a genocide happen, and be okay with that genocide happening. It's especially happening to children. We could sit here and say, well, it's just the natural course of a war. It's because our psyche has been exploited. And we have created a definition of goodness alongside a lot of people, and we are reinforcing our definition of goodness by being in community with each other and leaning on each other. So if you believe that this is good, then I can believe that this is good. And that continues to be reinforced. We are protecting ourselves. We have the right to protect ourselves. That becomes the inherent ethos that creates this illusion that we are actually good.
White people attempting to rebrand white rage by co-opting the term black fatigue as though it's a phenomenon they actually experience but only recently found the language to talk about is both dystopianly weird and tragically on brand. The copying, the whitewashing, the centering themselves by playing victim. But what's ironically telling about it is that the concept of racial battle fatigue is not new. It's been around for decades, and the term black fatigue has been used by black people for quite a while. Mary Frances Winters wrote a book that came out in 2020 titled Black Fatigue, and it describes the mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion that black people experience because of systemic racism. Now, notice how black people didn't call that white fatigue, because the purpose is not to assign blame in order to justify bad behavior. It is called black fatigue because it is a harm that black people experience, and so their focus is on addressing and combating that harm. Whereas when white people talk about experiencing black fatigue, they are not talking about a harm that they experience because of black people or anybody else. They are literally telling on their own inability to live in society with black people. And that's not new either. That's a pathology that has existed for hundreds of years, but call it what it is, white rage.
Where is the country of white? Simple question. Where is the country of white? How long has the country of white existed? How many wars did the country of white fight? How many did it win? How many did it lose? What kind of colonization did the country of white do? What technological advances came from the country of white? The silence really isn't for me. The silence really is for you. It really is. What kind of language do they speak in white? What is the white language? What kind of famous inventors came from the country of white? Are these questions too hard for you to answer? Can you get on a map right now and show me where the country of white is? Where is the white empire? Where is it? Who led the white empire? What was the name of the royal family of white? Did they have monarchs, or did they have like a democratic society? So if that's the case, who was the first prime minister of white? Who's the first president of white? What is the daily cuisine of white? What is the most famous dish of white? You hear that silence? It's not for me. It really is for you. The quickest and easiest way to confront your stupidity is by asking you simple questions. These are simple questions. Where on the map is the country of white? What is it next to? What is its bordering country? Was there ever any intermarriage between, like, say, England and the country of white? Was it? Was the country of white filled with scientists or barbarians? Which one was it? What did the pottery from the earliest moments of the country of white look like? I'm leaving these silent pauses for you. It ain't for me. See, I've looked at a map. I know the answers to these questions, but since you want to talk about white people experiencing racism, I need to know where these white people come from. No, you don't get a chance to call them Russian or German or Norwegian or Dutch or Canadian or English or French or Spanish. No, no, no. No, you must call them white. And if you call them white, that means they come from one centralized place, the country of white. So I need you to think about it. Where is the country of white? Where white is this where white slaves came from? The country of white? So who captured them? Was it the Chinese? The Mongols? The Slavs? Who caught them? Who caught them? Who enslaved these people from the country of white? Were they on the beach? Did they not have warriors? Somebody just rolled up on this land. Saw these naked white people in the sun and just said, yeah, they'll make good breeding stock. Is that how they ended up picking cotton and sugarcane? Where are the stories about the Underground Railroad for the white people? Where'd they take them? I mean, did they take them to Canada? So there's a contingent of Canadian people who identify by their white ancestors from the country of white? Who was white's greatest trading partner? What goods did they get? What goods did they give? What was the number one export from the country of white? White women? What was it? What? I'm literally asking you these questions as serious as I possibly can. Can you answer any of them? Like, time now, today. Can you please? Go get a map. Go get a map. Go get a map. Country of white. Find it, please. So, I'm going to talk to 3 of the groups that were heavily voting for Donald Trump. See if you like this. So, Donald Trump put Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in charge of Health and Human Services. And then he's just started slashing the fucking people that work everywhere in departments and things of that nature. One of which being the people that oversee and get help for coal miners with black lung. Just slashed the whole fucking thing. All right? Okay. Then Donald Trump's administration started to fire veterans who worked for the Veterans Administration. Just fired them. Fired them. All right? So much so that they also, reduced the amount of people working at the Veterans Crisis Line. Yeah. Then, Donald Trump has proposed. Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Got to make sure you say that. The Republican Party. Remember them? Pick 'em up trucks, got them a shotgun, daddy's Bible, and all that good shit, right? With the cowboy hats. Remember them? Okay. Now, Donald Trump's administration is talking about cutting trillions of dollars from things like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, food stamps, affecting a lot of poor white people, including poor women, white women with children who depend on these programs. And while all of this slashing and cutting and firing and shit is going on, y'all hearing about that big, beautiful bill that he's talking about? Which a part of it is there's a part in there for $175 billion for an golden dome, which is the same as what Israel has with the Iron Dome in Israel. But while he's hitting y'all with that shiny golden dome, all of this racks up to a $4 trillion tax cut. So to the miners that voted for Trump, the veterans that voted for Trump, and the poor white folks that voted for Trump, who they thought 3 times in a row now is going to make their life so much better, all to give one of the largest tax cuts in American history to people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. How you feel now? How do you feel now? You feel full? Still full on MAGA? Still? Some of y'all are watching this phone, or watching this video on a phone you got from someplace like Cricket or, Boost Mobile or Mint Mobile or wherever, right? All right? Some of you got it on you got it on Verizon or AT&T or whatever, right? You know for a fact it's going to be a struggle for you to buy a new phone. It's going to be a struggle for you to maintain the payments for the phone plan that you have right now. That's why you're at Cricket or Boost or T-Mobile Boost or Mint Mobile and things of that nature. You're trying to find ways to save the essentials, like you need a cell phone because very few people have landlines. Some of you are going to get up in the morning and go into a dark hole to dig up coal, knowing that it is shortening your life. Some of you are veterans. You wear the veterans hat for Vietnam, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Korea, Afghanistan, and Iraq. And you're afraid that your job isn't going to be there. You're afraid that your benefits might not be there. How do you feel now? Is any of the shit that people that look like me have been trying to tell you for 70 years, has it sunk in yet? Has it? Are you still holding on to your pride, or are you going to actually admit there's a problem? And that problem is how you vote. Our finest American institutions, the Princetons, the Columbias, they are bowing and bending the knee to Donald Trump, all in the guise of fighting anti-Semitism, but what they're really fighting is the First Amendment. And every time one of these colleges capitulates, the First Amendment means less. But I guarantee you, a lot of the alumni, a lot of the presidents and deans, y'all voted for this motherfucker though, didn't you? Didn't you? How do you feel now? I look at Columbia no different than I look at a community college at this point. But this is what y'all wanted. Do you see what voting selfishly gets you? Is it clear to you? Is it making any sense? Because see, for about 70 years, about 70, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, I don't really know. People that look like me have been trying to tell you this. How the fuck do you not have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, and you're rooting for the Monopoly man? You've all played Monopoly. You played it, heard somebody else playing it. You don't root for the rich to win. Because in order for the rich to win, somebody has to lose. Your pride in bullshit has fucked up your life. Your pride in bullshit has fucked up your reputation. A lot of these colleges that are capitulating to the Trump administration and their whims, you will never recover. A lot of you coal miners who either have lost friends to black lung or you're sick yourself with black lung. In 2026, are you going to vote smartly, or are you going to continue to vote with this guns, God, grits, gravy, and bullshit? You veterans, 2/3 of you voted for this motherfucker. Are you going to learn? Are you going to use some of that military training that you've been walking around with? The reason you're called a veteran in the first place. Are you going to use any of that and actually, I don't know, vote smartly the next time? Some of you poor ass people, poor ass white folk, are you going to learn? Poverty in West Virginia looks no different than poverty on the south side of Chicago. You have more in common with poor working class black folks than you think. Maybe you should let go of some of that bullshit and these stereotypes that you heard so that we all can fight collectively and hold these people to account so that your life is a little bit better. Or are you all going to forget this shit next year? Because I can almost guarantee you a Republican will be running in West Virginia, in coal country. He will promise a bunch of shit. Coal miners will listen to it. They will vote for him and their life will get worse. There will be there will be a Republican running for Congress or Senate, and veterans will listen to him talk about how much he loves the military and this, that, and the third. They will vote for him. Their life will get 10 times worse. There are poor ass white people who still seem to believe that their level of poverty is different than the poverty someplace where there's a predominantly black or brown neighborhood. They will listen to these people tell them about God's grits, gravy, trans people in bathrooms, trans people taking a shit. They will listen to them, they will vote for them, and their life will get infinitely worse. These college deans and shit, seeing the carnage that's being done by this administration, will listen to the Republicans say that they will safeguard them, and they will vote for them, and it will get worse. How many more times do you got to get kicked in your fucking mouth before you get up and punch back?
Everyone else can celebrate their culture, but when white people do it, everybody gets
Has anyone ever called you racist for celebrating St. Patrick's Day? Has anyone ever tried to cancel you on Twitter because you attended Oktoberfest in Helen, Georgia? Has anyone you know ever been triggered by someone showing up to the Tulip Festival where you celebrate Dutch culture? Has anyone ever lost their job because they were seen at a Renaissance fair? If a person of Spanish ancestry ever attends the Los Aleños Fiesta in New Orleans, do you think the woke mob is knocking on their door? Our country is full of European celebrations, celebrations of white European culture. But you're not talking about these. You're not talking about these celebrations. You're talking about this. You're talking about this. You're talking about this. You're talking about this. This is the white pride you want to celebrate. Look at how much fun they're having at Oktoberfest. This looks like a blast. I would love to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 beers she's holding. You don't want a German girl holding 13 beers. You want a bunch of moldy dudes who are mad that they can't have supremacy anymore.
When studying American history, one of the most important questions to answer is, how did Americans justify slavery? How did they convince themselves that they had the right to own black people as property? What we find is that they had numerous ways to justify slavery, including philosophy, religion, science, and straight-up lies and self-deception. One prominent way that slave owners justified slavery was by turning to the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle, who is without a doubt one of the most famous philosophers in human history. American education in the 18th and 19th centuries had a heavy focus on ancient Greece and Rome, and Aristotle's philosophy was studied by many Americans, including the Founding Fathers. Even though Aristotle was extremely intelligent and a very influential thinker, he left the world a dark legacy when it came to his views on slavery. Aristotle believed that slavery was normal and natural, and that some men were born to be masters and others were born to be slaves. He argued that humanity is divided into two, the masters and the slaves, or those who have the right to command and those who are born to obey. Therefore, to justify slavery, all American slave owners had to do was point to Aristotle. They argued that white men were the natural-born masters and black people were the natural-born slaves. However, an even greater justification for slavery than Aristotle was Christianity. Slave owners frequently justified the right to own black people as property by citing the Bible and arguing that slavery was sanctioned by God. As Samuel F.B. Morse put it, slavery per se is not a sin. It is a social construction ordained from the beginning of the world for the wisest purposes, benevolent and disciplinary, by divine wisdom. There are plenty of passages from both the Old and New Testament that condone slavery. For example, Exodus provides detailed rules about owning slaves and tells slave owners that the slave is their property. In the New Testament, Paul says, "Slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything, and do it not only when their eye is on you and to gain their favor, but with sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord." Slave owners would often read the Bible out loud to their slaves to show them that God approved of their enslavement. For example, when Solomon Northrop was enslaved in Louisiana, his master would preach pro-slavery sermons on Sundays. His favorite part of the Bible was Luke chapter 12, verse 47, which states, "The servant who knows the master's will and does not get ready, or does not do what the master wants, will be beaten with many blows." Solomon Northrop described how after reading this line, his master would explain, "That inward that don't take care, that don't obey his Lord, that's his master. That there inward shall be beaten with many stripes." Now many signifies a great many. 40, 100, 150, that's scripture. One of the most popular ways that slave owners used the Bible to justify slavery was through the curse of Ham. Most of you are probably familiar with the story of Noah. In Genesis, we learn that God told Noah he was going to destroy the world in a great flood, and he instructed Noah to build an ark and fill it with 2 of every animal so he could repopulate the world after the flood was over. In the story, Noah obeyed God, and after the flood, he became a drunk. I mean, you can't really blame him. He did just watch God annihilate nearly every living being on Earth. In Genesis, we hear of a strange story that involves one of Noah's drinking binges. One day, Noah gets drunk and passes out naked. His son Ham sees him and tells his 2 brothers, who cover up their father with a blanket. When Noah wakes up and realizes that his son saw him naked and dishonored him, he curses Ham's son Canaan and says, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be." Some Americans interpreted this passage from the Bible to mean that all of Ham's descendants were forever doomed to be slaves. and they argued that black skin was the mark of the curse of Ham. Therefore, when Americans sought to justify slavery, all they had to do was say it wasn't their fault. It was Noah who cursed them to be slaves, and since this came from the Bible, it was seen as the word of God. This story might seem ridiculous, but many slave owners used this argument to rationalize their right to own black people. It didn't matter that this story was irrational and absurd. The point is that they were able to use Christianity as an excuse to abuse and exploit black people. Slave owners also justified slavery through the scientific theories of the time, which were heavily influenced by racism and white supremacy. For example, the French scientist Georges Cuvier argued that there were three distinct races of human beings: the white Caucasian, the yellow Mongolian, and the black Ethiopian. He said the Caucasian is distinguished by the beauty of the oval formed by his head and the color of his hair. To this variety, the most highly civilized nations, and those which have generally held all others in subjection, are indebted for their origin. On the other hand, he argued, the Negro has always remained in the most complete state of utter barbarism. For scientists like this, the fact that white people enslaved black people was simply a law of nature. For men like this, slavery was the natural state of the black race. Others, like the French naturalist Georges Louis Buffon, believed that whites were helping black people by enslaving them. He believed that if black people were introduced to the cooler climate of the Americas, their skin would naturally turn white. He argued that in Europe, we behold the human form in its greatest perfection, and this is where we ought to form our ideas of the real and natural color of man. He said that if black people lived long enough in a cold climate, then their skin would become as white as the natives of Europe. Therefore, he believed that slavery was good for black people because it would eventually turn them white, which was the natural and perfect state of humanity. Never mind that human beings originated in Africa. Even abolitionists who opposed slavery still held racist ideas about black people. For example, the Philadelphia doctor Benjamin Rush believed that black skin was a disease that could be cured, and through the right treatment, black people could eventually become white. Another way that Americans justified slavery is arguing that by enslaving black people, they were doing them a favor. They argued that slavery was a moral good and benefited the slave. The man most responsible for this theory was George Fitzhugh from Virginia. In 1854, he published a book called Sociology for the South, where he argued that black people were inferior to whites and had to be slaves for their own good. Fitzhugh disagreed with the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal. Instead, he argued, men are not born physically, morally, or intellectually equal. It would be far nearer to the truth to say that some were born with saddles on their backs and others booted and spurred to ride them, and the riding does them good. For Fitzhugh, black people were born to be slaves. He argued, the Negro is but a grown child and must be governed as a child. The master occupies toward him the place of parent or guardian. Fitzhugh believed that a free black person was an oxymoron and said he would become an insufferable burden to society. Society has the right to prevent this and can only do so by subjecting him to domestic slavery. Fitzhugh argued that the Negro race is inferior to the white race, and if black people were ever to live in freedom next to whites, then gradual but certain extermination would be their fate. Therefore, Fitzhugh believed that by enslaving black people, whites were helping them. He said that slavery Christianizes, protects, supports, and civilizes him. He told his readers that the Negro slaves of the South are the happiest and in some sense the freest people in the world. Clearly, Americans had no deficit of justifications for why they had the right to own black people as slaves. However, all of these justifications were meant to do one thing: hide the fact that the real reason why white people enslaved black people is because of greed, profit, and power. Slavery was an economic system that produced extreme wealth, and white supremacy was the ideological justification that upheld it. The reason why white people came up with so many justifications for slavery is because in their heart they knew that it was wrong. They knew that they had no right to exploit and brutalize black people, so they constantly had to reassure themselves and ease their conscience. They had to constantly defend and justify a system that was clearly evil. They had to find some way to sleep at night.
Before we start, this story is heavy. It's not easy to hear, and it's not supposed to be. If you need a minute, take it. We'll see you in the next one. They told you slavery was a sad story, a tragedy, something you could learn about for 5 minutes, pass a quiz, and move on. They lied. Slavery wasn't sadness. It was terror, blood, and survival stitched into the soil of this country. In the 1930s, the U.S. government tried to document living memories of slavery. They expected nostalgia, but instead they got horror, and they buried most of it. Sarah Goodger, born around 1816, remembered it clearly. She said night and day, it was all work. No rest, no play. The lash was going all the time. Work till you dropped. Dreams beaten out before they could even form. Fountain Hughes, born in Virginia, said in his own voice, "When we were slaves, we belonged to people. They sold us like they sell horses and cows and hogs. Owned, used, discarded." And then there's Millie Barber, who told a truth so sharp, it'll leave you bleeding if you listen closely. Well, my pa belongs to one man, my ma belongs to another. 4 or 5 miles apart caused some confusion, mix-up, and heartaches. My pa have to get a pass to come see my mama, and he comes sometimes without the pass. Controllers catch him way up the chimney hiding one night. They stripped him right before my mom and gave him 39 lashes, with her crying and hollering louder than he did. Let that sit for a minute. You needed permission to love. You needed permission to see your family. And if you didn't have it, they beat you half to death in front of the people that you love the most. And somehow America still wants to tell this same old story like it was complicated. The real slave narratives aren't about loyalty. They're not about singing in the fields or kind owners. They're about blood, terror, chains, and survival that roared louder than a whip ever could. You hear me? The next time somebody tries to hand you a whitewashed version of our history, remember that our ancestors didn't crawl through hell just for their stories to be silenced. They screamed it into the roots of this land. And we're the ones that are carrying their voices forward, loud, fierce, and impossible to bury again.
So guys, I hope you have watched that video from our black woman coming out and reveal to us the hidden history of white people, and also she has come out and exposed some of the things that these white people that have been doing to us black people. I know for a very long time, us black people, we have been asking for slavery reparation, but the first video that I played for you, the guy is coming out and telling us that the white people, they are paying slavery reparation, but they are not paying directly to the people who are really affected, the people who are receiving this slavery reparation. It is the slave owners. You can imagine these people right now, they're coming out and telling us that they're paying slavery reparation to the slave owners, but they're not paying to the families which were affected. And for me, I keep on telling you that this is some of the things that these people, they have been using so that it looks like these people, they're paying slavery reparation, and yet we know they're not paying slavery reparation. So these people, they need to stop telling us that they're paying slavery reparation to the slave owners. Instead, they need to pay to the families which were affected here in Africa or in black countries, whereby these people, they went and enslaved people. We are having some of the families which they are having the scars of slavery. We are having the families which they still have the memory of what happened to their forefather, to their fathers, to their family. They are still having slavery scars. So for this family to heal, these people, they need to pay for the damage that they did during slavery, slave trade. So these people, they should stop saying that they are paying slavery reparation to the slave owners. These people, they need to compensate the families. They need to pay for the families which were really affected during slavery, and also to the countries also. They need to pay. Some of the countries, African countries, they are still asking up today. They are still asking for their slavery reparation. And also, guys, another thing I'm going to talk about, it is how these people, they used Christianity to to confuse us black people, because these people, they came with the Christianity, and in this Christianity, it is the one also which made which confused us black people and to start worshiping these white people, because these people, they came out and told us that everything which it is bad, it is black. They told us that everything which it is black, it is bad. This is to tell you indirectly that because they know that us black people, we are really black. Yeah, we really black. So anything black, it is being associated. Anything black, it is being associated with bad things. So so us black people, they made us to see anything which it is white, it is good. Anything which it is white, it is good. And we ended up starting worshiping white Jesus, and yet we don't know if God or Jesus is white or black. We don't know. So these people, they came with a picture of Jesus and tell us that this is the Jesus, this is God, we need to worship him. So up to date, in some of our African homes, they're still having the picture of white Jesus. Yeah, they're still worshiping white Jesus. These are some of the things that these people, they came and confused us black people, telling us everything which it is white, it is good. And we ended up seeing them, because they are white, we ended up seeing them that they are really good. We need to give them more opportunity. We need to give them priority. They are the first people that we black people, we need to embrace. This is how these people, they made us black people to worship them and to embrace them, because when these people that are coming in our country, we really love, we as black people, we usually respect them. We are giving them the first priority. But when we black people, we are going to their country, they don't give us the same reception that we gave them when they are coming to our country. These people, they always see us as a bad people because of our colors, because we are black. And they made us that when a person, he or she dies, we need to wear a black. We need to wear a black tie, a black suit, so that we can go and bury the person who has died. So this is to tell you that dying is a bad thing. So we black people, they came us and tell us when a person dies, you need to wear black. You can imagine. For me, I want to tell my African people, we need to abolish that culture. When a person, he or she has died, we need to wear a different color, not only black colors. We need to wear all clothes. Who told you that when a person dies, we need to wear black? That thing, I want to tell my African people, we need to cancel that. We need to stop following some of the culture and some of the things that these people, they came and tell us black people. These are some of the things that they have been using so that we black people, we can worship them, we can respect them, we can give them more priority. And they made us black people to hate each other, because for me, I'm black. When I see another black person, my brother, I see him like a bad person, because all of us, we are black. So there's no need of us black people supporting each other. These are some of the reasons to why black people, they don't love to support each other. But black people love supporting other races apart from their own race. You will see black people, he or she is supporting the Chinese store, the white store, the Indian store, a different color, but he or she cannot go and support the black store. It is very rare to find a black person going and support their fellow black store. Instead, we black people, we are hating on each other. We want to bring our fellow brothers down. And we are letting these other races to be on top of us. So these are some of the hidden things that these people, they came out to do to us black people. We need to start abolishing some of the things that we are still following. These people, they use Christianity to confuse and to brainwash us black people, because these people, they saw that black people, we are very powerful. Yeah, they saw that black people, they are very powerful. The only thing that they can do and confuse us, it is through the brain. Yeah, because in the fight, they can't fight with us black people. They came and confuse us through our brain. They damage our brain with lies, with some of the culture that we need to follow. So these are some of the things that I've been wanting to tell you that we need to abolish. As black people, we need to educate each other. And right now, seeing how the white history, it is coming to unfold itself, to see some of the bad things that they do to us, to seeing some of the things that they are making us to follow. For me, I'm feeling very happy because the hidden truth that these people that have been hiding towards black people, right now it is coming to unfold itself. And I'm so happy to see the black educators, the black professor who always come out and educate us black people. Our African people who they always come out and educate us black people. And also I've been seeing some of the white people, they are also tired with how they think, with the things that they have been doing to us black people. They are now coming out and tell us exactly how they have been hiding their history to us black people. So kindly guys, I don't want to talk too much. Let's talk more on the comment section. What do you think about the hidden history that these people that have been hiding, the white hidden history, and some of the things that these people that have been doing to us black people? So kindly guys, let's talk more in the comment section. Subscribe if you haven't, like this video, share, and also comment. See you on my next one. Bye bye.